Hello, I'm Edna Kane Williams, Executive Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer at AARP. The time you are investing today to take the course, Becoming a More Inclusive Volunteer, is critical to our overall success. At AARP, we are working to uplift the voices and experiences of all people. As an AARP volunteer, we need your help to embed diversity into our advocacy, education, and outreach work. This training and others like it are examples of our commitment to the concepts of diversity, equity, and inclusion for the 50 plus. As we all work to fulfill AARP's mission to empower people to choose how they live as they age, we must remember that AARP's founder, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, saw the power of uniting diverse and inclusive voices to advocate for change. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is everyone's responsibility at AARP. Thank you for taking the time to take this training. It will help you grow your skills at becoming a more inclusive volunteer.
Hello, I'm Derek Young, and I'd like to talk with you about creating a shared vision. First off, I just want to say how much I applaud you for taking your time and talent to volunteer with AARP. Wherever you are in this great nation, what you're doing as an AARP volunteer is making a difference, in many cases for people you may never even meet. Well, one of the most important things you can do as a volunteer leader, and what I'd like to say there is I look at everyone as a leader. I don't just look at the positional aspects of leading, but I believe leadership is a lifestyle. So as an AARP volunteer, one of the most important things you should be good at, from my vantage point, is getting a group of other volunteers all fired up and focused on a shared vision. So I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about that and offer some ideas that I think will help you be more effective in that area. So let's do a quick differentiation. Let's differentiate two things that often show up together: vision and mission. Now, for me, a vision is sort of a big, bodacious goal. A vision is something that actually has an endpoint. You can point to a place and a space and time where we will accomplish this, that, or the other. One of my favorite visions is when John F. Kennedy stood before Congress and said, by the end of the decade, we will have a man on the moon. You see that? Endpoint, very specific, has a timetable associated with it. Well, what is a mission? Now, for me, a mission is different. For me, a mission is a statement that describes how you live your values in order to achieve a vision. So a mission might be serving others. That's actually the mission we had when I worked for Dollar General many years ago. You see, a mission is a statement that says, here's how we got to think, here's how we got to behave every single day if we're going to make it to that proverbial moon, make it to that end point. So that being said, in a given year as an AARP volunteer, you're going to have what? Many visions you try to achieve. There may be some major overriding vision that you and your fellow volunteers are trying to achieve. But at the end of the day, you're going to be looking at creating small visions all along the way. So I'm going to give you a few thoughts, a few steps maybe, that I think could be very beneficial. When we talk about you becoming a more inclusive volunteer, creating a shared vision is one of the greatest ways to build your inclusivity, right? To increase your ability to get other people involved. So the first step for me in creating a shared vision is you have to have somewhat of a vision yourself. Where do we want to take this initiative? Where do we want to land this project? How do we want to change our reputation in the community? How do we want to increase our ability to raise funds in this marketplace? The point is, as the leader of a certain project or activity, you start off with a concept of what you'd like to see happen. But because it's a shared vision, this is important, Your concept is only a part of the vision. It's not the vision. Secondly, I want you to think about who are the people who should be involved in crafting this vision. Now, I'm going to say some things here that maybe you've never heard before. One of the things that I advise all my clients to do, and now I'm sharing with you, is more than likely you have what I like to call that Grinch person in the group. I'll wait. You know who I'm talking about. They lead with negativity. More often than not, they're going to tell you what doesn't work or what hasn't worked or what won't work. More often than not, in my career, I found a Grinch, if you've ever seen the movie, is really a sweetheart of a person who's had a number of bad experiences that lead them to lead with negativity. Well, the first suggestion I'm going to offer you in creating a vision team, that group you're going to bring to the table to help you create that shared vision, is the Grinch in your group. Now, some of you watching this are probably already saying, DY, I think I know where you're going with this. First, the reason I like having the Grinch involved in the vision is they're going to be honest. They keep it real. Grinches don't sugarcoat it. They bring it to you how it is. That's what they do. And in many cases, you may have people around you who won't be honest, who won't give you their honest opinion. So that's one reason I like having that Grinch personality. Secondly, one thing I like about the Grinch is more often than not, they actually have real experience with some of the things you're talking about. Even if they frame it in a negative way, I still like to gain their perspective because more often than not, they're sharing this because they've actually been through it. They've been around it. Third, another reason I like to include that personality is that if I'm able to get them engaged, if I'm able to get them to share, if I'm able to get them as a member of the team, if you get the Grinch, everyone else is a cinch. Now listen, that's all the Dr. Seuss I'm doing today. But the point is, many visions don't come to pass, is that the person who initiates that vision never invites an opposing view. They never invite someone who might say something that seems what? Counterintuitive or even counterproductive. The point is, you want your vision to be able to stand up to its quote unquote critics before you ever start working on it. That's one of the reasons, again, that I recommend you invite that personality. The last thing I want to say about this is that when you get that person involved and you're able to keep them involved and you're able to actually begin to leverage their great traits, everyone else around you begins to realize there must be something here. Because if that person is involved, if that person is actually supporting this, there must be something afoot that we need to be a part of. So, along that line, obviously, I think you ought to think about in creating a shared vision, what I call the T formula. The T formula. What does that mean? For me, the T formula is you identify the highest level, highest ranking people you can find who can speak into that vision. You identify frontline people, people who are doing the groundwork associated with that vision. And you identify people, the T, this way, you identify people from disparate functions, people with different perspectives. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they say, this is a marketing project, so we're only going to involve marketing people. Can I just tell you a story on that? I had a client one time who was building this big strategy, big company, and this person was the marketing person. And he said, you know, I got this strategy and I want to involve some people, but I don't really want to involve anybody outside our group. And we talked it through and I was able to convince this person, you might want to invite some people from outside your group. I recommended the person from IT, the CIO. And initially the marketing person said, wait a minute, you know, that guy's an IT dude. He don't know nothing about marketing. Why would you involve him? I said, listen, get people from disparate, different functions because sometimes they can offer a perspective you might not have. Here's the other thing that I said to this person that I'm saying to you, and you don't know what they know. You don't know what their background is. You don't know what they have access to. Well, the company I'm referring to was about a $200 million company. That's a good sized company, wouldn't you say? And this marketing person had been there quite some time and felt very responsible for a lot of that company's financial success. Well, when they invited the CIO in, this person didn't know where the CIO had worked prior to the $200 million company. The CIO, prior to working at this company, worked for Nike. You think this CIO who had some skill to work at Nike, a multi-billion-dollar global brand, might have had a few tips for the marketing group in a $200 million company? You get my point. So again, I want you to remember that T formula when you're building a group that's going to help you create a shared vision. Now, let's talk about some of the mechanics of bringing a group like that together. One of the things I want you to think about is that when you have a new project for AARP, and again, I don't care how small or large it is, but remember, it's going to have a vision, an endpoint, an end game that you're trying to achieve. One of the things I want you to really think about is how often you meet with your group. Will it be monthly? Will it be every other week? Who knows? But I want you to think about that, and I want you to make sure you vet that with the group to try to find what? The timing that's going to work best for most of the people in the group. This is going to sound overly simplistic. You would be amazed how often maybe one person just sort of sets the schedule. Now listen, I'm not telling you that doesn't work. I've done that before. But when I compare that to the first option I shared of sort of querying the group to find out what they think might be a great schedule, I found that tends to work better for the shared vision. Next, if you're going to be meeting with this group over time to create said vision, I think you ought to have a small, brief discussion about what will be our mechanics as a group. Meaning, how will we communicate with each other? What will be our standards for meeting? You'll hear things like, we should respect each other's opinion, we should let each other finish talking, we should be fully present when we're at the meeting, we should decline taking calls and jumping in and out of the meeting. Those are some of the common things you're going to hear, but the point is, if you don't put that in your plan, you may not take advantage of it, and again, it may limit your ability to have a shared vision. The next thing I want to recommend, as you're building this shared vision for this great AARP initiative that you have, I think it's very important that you, as the person who's sort of leading the project, identify in that group, if you can, what I call some blind spot partners. This is something I've talked about in a couple of our videos in our Becoming a More Inclusive Volunteer series. This is one of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do. What's a blind spot team, DY? Here we go. You and I have blind spots, right? I used to be a pretty good basketball player. I was pretty good at passing the ball, and I had great peripheral vision. But even with great peripheral vision, I still had blind spots. Well, for me, a blind spot is something you're doing that is not impacting people the way you think it is. A blind spot is maybe a habit you have, maybe a tic. Maybe you don't even realize that your eye blinks when you talk about stressful things. You don't even know that. Other people know it, but it's a blind spot for you. Maybe there are certain words you're mispronouncing and you don't realize it. You see where I'm going with this? My point is, I don't care how awesome you are, I don't care how powerful or successful you are, we all have certain blind spots. Well, how does that relate here? Because you're sort of the leader of the initiative, the leader of this project, I think it's important to find 2 or 3 people, and there are 3 R's associated with this. You give them the right and the responsibility to keep it real with you. When I was growing up in St. Louis, we used to use the term, they can pull you by your coattails. Kind of like, hey, can I run something by you? Hey, that joke you told to start the meeting, don't tell that again. What? I thought that joke killed. Yeah, it killed everybody's spirit in the room. That's exactly what it did. Not good. See, that blind spot partner is there to not criticize you, not tear you down, but to make you aware of how you're coming off to the team. You get this, right? Because if you're not coming off properly to the team, what's that going to do to your vision? Well, it certainly won't help it be a shared vision. The other thing that blind spot partner can do is they can make sure you're involving, listen closely, everyone equally. Let's face it, you all, we all have different personalities. I am a Myers-Briggs person. I love Myers-Briggs. One person is introverted. One person is extroverted. One person maybe seems like they're dominating the conversation. One person maybe never shows up in the conversation. That blind spot partner can help you ensure that you're getting equal involvement from everybody, regardless of their personality type. Now you begin to see the beauty of how all these steps fit together, because remember, we're creating a shared vision. We want the input, ideas, insight from everyone on the team. Your ability to create a shared vision, I believe, will accelerate your success with any AARP initiative. Your ability to create a shared vision will actually make that vision what? Stronger, more palatable to a broader audience, more likely to be accomplished. You see, the beauty of a shared vision is you're saying to yourself and to your team, your fellow volunteers, hey, we all have great ideas. We all have great input, and we want to make sure we take advantage of that to the greatest degree. So as you move forward in your AARP volunteer career, I hope you'll improve your ability to create a shared vision, because what I found is a shared vision, more often than not, is a mission accomplished.